So we started recording, and I can do roll unless you want to do it, Janet. So what else? Yep. Janet, you're muted.
Okay. I guess I was saying that I could do it because they are listed here. Beth,
Yes.
Ernie,
Yes.
Hazel,
Yes.
Jean,
Here.
Kathleen,
Here.
Melinda,
Present.
Tom.
Here.
Okay. Paulette is not here, right?
No,
And Angelique is
not here yet.
not here yet. Oh, Flo.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Did I miss anybody?
The only one that wasn't called is Helene.
Oh, okay, Helene. Yeah, okay. Is she on here?
And Dick. Is Dick here?
Oh, and Dick. Yeah.
Oh, yep, nope. Dick is not here either. Nor is Ron.
Oh, and Ron,
Dick.
right. Yeah.
Or Ron. And we're waiting for Helene.
Hopefully, some other folks will be able to join shortly, but oh, there's Angelique.
Oh, great.
Yay.
Hi, Angelique.
Hi. Hello, all.
Hello.
So once again, I'll let folks know that we're still that we started recording the meeting, and I also was told that we cannot use the chat function due to open meeting regulations, and that folks who would be calling in don't have access to the chat, so therefore we can't use it. So we were all just naughty last meeting.
Can we chat with you to prompt you to?
No, sadly, there's just not the ability to use any chat functions.
Okay. So it's not just amongst members.
Correct. Correct. It's no chat. And I know that
you can
for
send
you-
us an email.
Actually, I can't during this meeting.
No, not you, but we can.
You guys can do what you feel like you want to do, but it just can't be, it's just not official. Like I wouldn't be able to respond or anything like that.
Okay.
So what else was I gonna, no, I think that was the only thing I got in trouble for.
Could we do it if it was if it was attached to the meeting minutes and it was public? What the chat was on the chat?
That's a really good question. I'm gonna guess that it's no, because it's the whole ability to participate,
Okay.
in real time.
Okay.
But that's a good question. That's actually a really good question. I can't confidently say I know that answer.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, as long as we're
Right.
being transparent.
Right. Yes. Yes. I think the whole issue with the chat is just the transparency. So I'll definitely bring it forward.
Okay.
And find out.
Christina,
Yes.
this is Kathleen Quinn.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, me and Microsoft Teams, it keeps flaking in and out.
Okay.
So if I disappear, I can still get the audio, but the video seems to be coming and going. So
Right.
I will listen and then say something and then smack the computer and see if it will behave.
Sure. And Flo doesn't have the ability to raise her hand, and I believe Beth has always not been able to have that feature either.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Kathleen, it looks like you're logged on twice. That could
Yeah,
be different.
It's thinking that, yes, it's not telling me All right, let's close one and see what happens. Okay.
Oh, you're still there. Oh, Beth, I just saw a hand for Beth.
I just tested it. I upgraded
Yay.
the software. That might be it. I don't know.
That's probably it. And there's Angelique. And Ernie.
Yay.
Yay. Janet.
I wasn't able to see everyone all at the same time before because I didn't have the Microsoft Teams
Software.
software downloaded. I was just joining through the link. So that's what makes the difference. So I'm happy to like see everyone all at the same time.
Right. And
Yeah.
I see Melinda's hand feature works. Hazel, do you use Macintosh, an Apple product?
Not necessarily. I'm
Oh,
lucky to
okay.
get on.
The only reason why I was asking is that one thing that we have become very aware of is that, oh, yep, there's your hand, Hazel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that Apple and Microsoft don't like each other. And that's pretty well known.
Yeah, and that's what I use. So I think that's sometimes part of the issues of why
Yep.
it doesn't work as seamlessly.
Yeah,
Oh.
when I'm using my iPad, if I'm away for some reason, I have to use my iPad for a meeting. I
Yeah.
can't use my hands, so I just have to be rude and barge in. So,
Yeah.
so okay. Well, Janet, you want to start and get rolling now that we have the roll call? Angelique, we did get you on the roll call, so.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
With the election moved up?
Yes, with the election moved up. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'll call the meeting to order. I'm going to have to depend on you a bit there. I did not do a hard copy on the agenda, so I'm a little lost on what the agenda is.
It's really right now, since we're moving the election up, because there are folks who have to leave early.
Yeah.
Okay. And then really the other components are update on my conversation with Public Works,
okay.
Which will be very quick because I've not had one yet.
That's it.
And then, yeah, that's kind of the update, isn't it? Jumping all over the agenda here. The other two updates are vaccinations and the response, the planning of a potential response during the trial of the murder.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, for Derek Chauvin.
Okay. Okay. So
I make a motion that we move item number 5, the elections, up to number 4, which is right after the acceptance of the minutes. So we've had roll call, and then we adopt the agenda, which I'm amending, is number 2. Number 3 is the acceptance of the minutes. Then number 4 would be the election.
Okay. So I'm entertaining for a motion to accept the agenda as amended. Well, I guess we have to vote on the amendment first. Let's vote on the amendment first.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so we'll move on to the minutes. Can we get a motion to accept the minutes? Or
I move to accept the minutes for January.
Second.
okay, and all those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? No. Okay, and now we're going to move on to the elections, I guess. So.
And I see that Tom has his hand up. Tom,
Oh, okay.
What? Oh, I'm gonna take that down.
It may still be up
all right.
when you're testing that. Okay.
So
Yeah.
Janet, are you comfortable with
Points.
running the nominations
Oh, sure.
and acceptance?
Sure.
And we can start with chair and then vice chair and then secretary. And I just want to give a huge, huge shout out thanks to Janet for filling in rather quickly. Janet was our vice chair and our chair had to leave the committee abruptly because they moved out of state abruptly. So, so thank you, Janet. Yeah.
Okay, Christine, Jean had her hand up, but Jean, you're muted.
Yes.
That's okay. I just wanted to point out that, thank you, Hazel. I just wanted to point out again that we should all remind ourselves to mute because there's just this kind of back and forth when we're all unmuted.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Ernie, you have a hand up?
Yes. I would like to be refreshed. I know Flo took over the chair. Who is our vice chair, or do we have one?
Janet took over as the chair. We do not, that's right now, that is the only
Janet.
officer that we have seated is Janet as interim chair.
Okay.
But all three are up for nominations.
Yes. The second thing I have is there anyone, instead of nominations, is there anyone who wants to be chair? Will nominate themselves.
That's what Janet's gonna ask.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go.
And if nobody nominates themselves, then Janet will ask for nominations for in this that's the process for each officer, if you will. And if there's any questions about duties, I'm more than happy to let you know.
Okay. So, does anyone want to nominate themselves for chair? A lot of you are qualified. I read your bios.
Oh, I was just gonna ask Ernie. Ernie, your hand's up.
Yeah, what does the chair do?
The chair is basically the facilitator, if you will, of the meeting. Of course, as you've seen, I assist when and if and where needed. And so I would be having conversations with the chair when every month to set up the agenda items. Of course, the whole committee has the opportunity to weigh in on what they would like to talk about, whether we do it during a meeting or they send me an email, hey, can we, is this an agenda item that would be appropriate? And so then I would consult with you, Ernie, before I put out the agenda. And so you would do it what Janet's been doing, call the meeting to order, roll call, or I can do roll call too, and then just moving the meeting along.
Okay, I'll run as long as everybody's okay with me letting Christina run the meeting when she wants to. If she wants me to run the meeting, I'll do it. Otherwise, I'll just say, Christina, would you run the meeting? And go silent. But I will nominate myself for chair for as long as I am still living in Minneapolis this year. This is the last year of my 2-year term.
Oh, wow. Second.
Okay, we have Ernie who's nominated for chair and Beth seconded. Janet, do you want to call roll?
Okay. Does each person have to vote separately or can we?
For something, yeah, for something this official.
Okay, this big we do have to. Okay. Okay, Angelique?
Aye.
Beth?
Aye.
Hazel?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
Kathleen? Melinda?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye, and thank you, Ernie.
And of course, Flo.
Kathleen was muted.
Okay.
Yeah, but she had a thumbs up.
Oh, Flo.
I didn't see that.
Oh, Flo. Yes, Flo.
Yeah, I was hoping that Janet would continue as interim.
If I get it, yes. I'm not interested in running. It's really, really difficult, Flo, to do this online. For me, I mean, I'm not very technologically proficient. So I find it really,
Okay.
really difficult.
And
So
then I for Ernie.
Thanks, Flo. And Kathleen, are you able to unmute yourself? Sort of. Okay. All right. We'll all take it. We all saw it. It's being recorded. I know you're having some
and I get an eye too.
technology issues. Yep, and Janet too. And it passes anyways. We have enough of the vote. So Ernie, congratulations.
Thank you. Do I get to make an acceptance speech?
Sure. You sure can. If
And
you'd
how
like.
long would you like it? Thank you all. And I feel it's a really good group, and I appreciate all of you and all your work. And your bios are unbelievable. And I promise to do the best I can to help Christine. Thank you.
Okay, we can move on to vice chair. And so vice chair, I'll just actually give the description. So vice chair basically would fulfill the duties if the chair was unable to do so. Again, I would be assisting in any and every way that would be needed.
Yes, entertain anybody who wants to would like to be vice chair. We have so many qualified people here. I'd like to see somebody do this.
Can I ask a quick question here?
Sure.
So at this point, would it not be appropriate for Ernie to step in since he is now the chair?
Well, I was wondering about that. I would like to have him do that if he's willing to do that. You want to do that, Ernie?
I told you what I would do. Are you ready for it? Christine, would you please help us run the rest of the meeting promptly?
And I don't think that's necessarily appropriate either. What
Well, she has the way she can see the hands up. I don't know if I can see hands up. Can I see them?
Well, that's where I would help you. So Ernie, what you would be doing is just asking if anybody wants to nominate themselves as vice chair. And that's when I will assist.
To nominate themselves as vice chair. I will be happy to either take you out or provide lunch once a month delivered to your house.
Okay, no bribing. Nope, we're recorded. No bribing.
Oh, not a bribe. It's real.
I would put my name in for this.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jean. Is there anyone else that would like to put their name in besides Jean for vice chair?
I heard somebody else's voice.
I don't see any other hands.
Nope, there's no hands up. So, Ernie, do you have, this is where I might have to help you. Do you have the ability to call roll?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. Then call roll, please.
Okay, calling roll. Kathleen.
Aye.
Oh, did we get a nomination or in a second for Jean?
Oh, that's right. My bad.
Vice chair.
Second.
Thank you. And okay, so now we have Jean has nominated herself as vice chair, and we've had a second, I believe, from Beth. Thank you. And now I will call roll. Kathleen.
Aye.
Thomas.
Yes.
Flo.
Aye.
Melinda.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Hazel.
Aye.
Jean.
I don't vote for myself. I abstain.
Ernie. Aye. Angelique.
Angelique.
Angelique. Thank you, Angelique. Angelique.
Aye.
And Helene.
Helene's not here.
Oh, didn't get her mark. And then Beth.
Aye.
Okay, I think.
Did we get Melinda?
Aye.
I thought I called Melinda. Maybe not. I got confused.
And Tom, did you get called? I can't remember.
Yes, I did.
Okay, I
He
thought,
voted
all right.
Thomas, though.
I feel that, well, it's probably because, yeah. Are you looking at the roster?
Sure.
Yeah, the roster has,
Bios.
right. Oh, there you go.
I'm looking at the bios and I'm calling from there, and I checked off who was here today, even for some odd reason.
That's awesome. See, you're a great chair already. So I believe we've got everybody called. Is that accurate?
Was Kathleen called?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Just like the first one. Okay, so congratulations, Jean. Are you going to give a speech too?
No.
No.
Yes,
Okay.
we thank Jean for taking on the vice chair. We really appreciate it.
Very much so. Yay,
Yes.
this is going so well. So
Okay, so now we need nominations for the secretary. And the rule on the job of the secretary is?
So technically it's minutes. This is where it gets a little, I started to think about this because of it being online. Of course, in person, it's pretty easy. And then the secretary sends me the minutes, and then I send them out to everybody else, right? We have a new system called LIMS, which really the minutes for that system, as you can see, the minutes are quite a lot less detailed than they have historically been. So I feel like what would be great is I can continue, and if the secretary can just jot down when there's a vote, who nominate or who made a motion, who seconded, just to keep me on track because I'm doing a lot of things. So it would really be just taking very, very casual notes, but really focusing on the big stuff such as an official vote. So who first, who seconded. The secretary can actually be the one to call roll. That's typically how I've seen it done in other online meetings for city council, is that the city clerk staff actually does the roll call. So that's really all about what the secretary would do. Because then I would be the one to, they could be sloppy notes, they don't, because I'll be the one having to put them into the system the way the agenda works.
Do we normally have an agenda
Yes.
that is timed?
We historically have not. I see are you asking because the secretary could also help keep the meeting
moving and
having timed convert or timed.
Ouch.
And I feel like I could easily put that into an agenda. So maybe that's something we can talk about. And then knowing that might also be an activity that the secretary would take on once we, talk about having timed agendas. I think there's pros and cons to both. So when you nominate yourself, because I know someone's going to nominate.
I'm going to try to run the meeting. Any other questions? Thanks, Jean, for your excellent question. Are there any other questions?
I have a question. I'm not nominating myself as secretary, but I just have a question about the minutes in itself, because I think Charlie has spoiled us so with his detailed minutes. And I'm just wondering, why does the city have eliminated putting the complete discussion that we've had at meetings? Because for the last couple of months, you look at the minutes and you just don't, there's nothing there. The body of the stuff that we discuss is not represented in the minutes. And so I'm just wondering, why has the city outlined it so that you cannot put, the gist of the whole meeting in? Just to say that this was passed and this wasn't passed, and there's no discussion about what the discussion was, doesn't make any sense to me.
Sure. Yeah, Charlie was so phenomenal at providing minutes. The description of minutes that the city clerk establishes is that it's really just high level components, that it's not a capturing of verbatim or close to verbatim of the conversation, which doesn't mean that we can't do that if that's what the committee prefers. The other thing too is that these meetings are recorded. So if someone wants to go and find out, and I can actually send you all the links. And matter of fact, that's what I'm going to commit to do, is to send you the link if you wanted to like revisit the meeting, like, oh, you know what, I don't really remember that conversation. So then you'd be able to do that. I don't know if that satisfies. I know I'm not a fan of looking at recordings. I'd rather just read through the document. But so that's also something we can talk about as far as the secretary actually taking full minutes. You know, I mean, with more detail than what I have been providing, and I see a lot of hands up talking about that. So, okay, Ernie's your hand. So I have Ernie, Tom, Janet, and yeah, Ernie, Tom, and Janet. I don't know whose hand went up.
I'll call on Janet. I don't think I was first. Janet, what did you have to add to ours?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to also remark that for people who missed the meeting, they need some way of seeing, you know, of being able to recap what was done while they were gone. So,
yes, I do agree with you, Janet.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Janet. Tom, your hand is up.
I just want to say that I have taken minutes in the past, but I've kind of known consciously or subconsciously that when I take extensive minutes, I kind of edit a bit and you know, someone else taking minutes might have a different perspective on what was actually said. And so I understand why minutes that simply record the actions are, you know, a very clean way of doing what the committee has to do, which is have a complete record of its actions.
Thank you, Tom. I had my hand up because I was going to ask about the video being included in the minutes so that we could all see the meeting. And the other thing is that we could just, if Christina could send them to the secretary and currently call them the editor. Help her edit what she has already put together. If there was someone that would do that, and not feeling like you have to write everything down, but write enough down that you can help Christina edit. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie. I will say it has it can be a challenge for me to take detailed minutes while I'm also making sure that things are running smooth here. It runs smooth for, you know, pretty well, but it would be awesome if someone would be willing to take on minutes. I know they'll be way more rich than what I've been producing. So, and Ernie made a really good suggestion.
Floor here. Question. Point of information. Would it be possible to make sure the minutes record any reports or announcements, staff updates, so that we know what's coming in from the outside at a given meeting?
I believe that's a sure yes, especially if we have someone who's taking some notes along with Christina and helping her keep track of all of that. She does have track of all of the people that we have invited to the meeting and their contact information, but any announcements we could put in as announcements. I see, does that answer your question? And I can't tell who was talking.
That was Flo, and I know Jean has her hand up as well.
Yes, Jean, the floor is yours.
I would nominate Tom for this role.
I was hoping someone was going to say that.
Tom, your hand is up. What did you have to say?
I can do it.
Thank you, Tom. Do we have, so we have a nomination? Jane, your
I
hand
second
is up.
that.
What would you-
I
Second?
second that.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Let's see here. We'll try to call the roll correctly again. Kathleen,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Flo,
Aye.
Melinda,
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Hazel. Hazel,
Aye.
thank you. Jean,
Aye.
Ernie,
Aye. Yes.
Ernie, aye. Oh, here we come back to Angelou.
Angelique.
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 We're gonna have to go to
Angel
lunch just so I
with
can learn
leak
your
on
name.
the end.
Angelique.
Yes. Dark shadows.
Aye or nay? A or nay? Angelique.
A. You can call
Okay.
me Angela.
Oh, you're being nice to a Southern boy.
And
Angela.
are you saying aye or nay, Angelique?
Aye. Aye.
Ron. Nope, Ron's not here. And Beth.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes carry it. Thank you
everybody
very
called?
much. Tom, would you like to make a speech?
No.
Oh, okay. Tom, do you have availability to print out the minutes beforehand so that you can, just add notes to what's there? I mean, the agenda?
Yeah, yes, I think I do.
Oh, okay. If you need help with that, let me know, and I'll get it mailed to you if it comes out in time. Otherwise, we'll figure out what to do. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Flo here.
Wait,
Just a
where's the
reminder,
hand? Wait.
I need a printout hard copy because I don't have the Zoom app.
Yep.
Of
Yeah.
the, of
So
the what?
I take care of getting Flo the information.
Okay. And
And
Jean,
I
you
will.
have
I can
your
work.
hand up.
Yeah, I can work with you too, Tom, if you want to. But yes, Jean also has her hand up.
That should have been removed. I was just applying.
Okay. We can't keep up. Remove your hand if you can, dear. Okay. So that concludes number 4, the elections. And then number 5 was Christina is going to update the committee on the Public Works letter. That's one thing. The city plans for the March trial of Derek Chauvin regarding the public safety. And the third thing is vaccinations. Okay, Christine, the floor is yours.
Okay. So like I said, I'll start with Public Works because that's short and sweet. It's I'm feeling a little challenged trying to pinpoint the actual person that can make the changes that we want to talk about. So that would be everything from the tone of the letter to providing opportunity to help folks who are receiving this letter get some assistance if they're unable to shovel or remove ice, etc. I feel like I'm getting close because I'm starting to go up the food chain and I'm starting to hit heads of department. I do know that the Public Works, the head of Public Works, Robin Hutchinson, has left, and it was a fairly sudden move. So that could possibly be what's adding to the confusion. And Robin was a go-to for me, so I'm just trying to figure out what structure's in place now. Does anybody have any questions? I see Melinda's hand is up.
Yeah, just to let you know, Christine and the rest of the committee, that this is still an issue. I've been monitoring Nextdoor and other Facebook, neighborhood kind of stuff, and people are reporting more of these letters and they're not in violation. And so there's a lot of bewilderment out there, and it's not just older adults, it's people of all, homeowners of all ages are getting these notices and feeling like it's a waste of city resources. So if you want to bring that back to the powers that be, let them know that this is still a problem.
Thank you for that, especially talking about wasting city resources. Ernie?
I wasn't next, but yeah, I've been working with the city. I have a private alley behind part of my block, and no one is cleaning the public sidewalk at the end of the alley. I don't care what they do with their alley, but I'm trying to walk around the block, and if no one cleans that part of the sidewalk, then I'm on ice all of a sudden.
Yeah.
When I called 311, there is no direction from the city about public alleys, private alleys. There's no direction. I would have to call 311, turn them in. The person would come out and he would determine who was supposed to be cleaning it. And then I'd have a whole neighborhood of enemies. But I don't know. Do I want a broken hip or do I want enemies? I can't figure it out. Thank you for listening. Christina, back to you.
It's my understanding, Ernie, from Melinda, that you are not able to find out where the report came from, whether it was from an inspection or from a community member turning it in. Is that correct, Melinda?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So every year, you would think that our state would have finally figured out, because it's not like we're just now experiencing snow and ice, right? So thank you for all this feedback. Jean, I see your hands up.
A quick comment, and that is that I've also had neighbors mention getting kind of a random threatening letter with no real reason for it.
Sure.
So I too am hearing that.
Okay. That's good to know. And can I ask one question? Does it seem that you're seeing this and hearing this like immediately after a snowfall, or is it like a week? So it's pretty immediate. So they're not really, the city is potentially jumping the gun where folks haven't gotten home from work or, you know, gotten their kids all settled so they can go out and shovel, you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
In this, you know, in this case, it is the individual on the block who is so fastidious that it's laughable that he got this letter.
Oh.
Yeah, it's random. And his particular letter actually said, you are a chronic problem and you are under whatever the word was, but we'll watch you for 2 years. And if we have to do this again, we'll charge you. And it was in the thousands. Yes. And honest to goodness, this guy is obsessive. He's my age. He's a younger person, out in the middle of the night with a snowblower. And he called and said, because they called it they called it a misdemeanor. It was something like they attributed it to a crime. And so he called someone at 311 and they couldn't help. He got a hold of property. Property said, I don't know where this letter came from. I can't help you. So my recommendation was that he call Andrew Johnson's office.
Yes.
The point being, somebody's hitting the wrong buttons out there.
Right. And I'm wondering if this is even a valid letter from the city.
Well,
I have never heard of a letter of that caliber ever. So
yeah, a 2-year, it was like he's on, it was the verbiage reminded me, he showed it to me, and it was the verbiage reminded me of you're on probation kind of a statement.
wow.
But it's public works, It talked about it being a misdemeanor and that there would be a $2,000 or several $1,000 fine if they have to come out again.
Okay, and feel free to give, in any of these issues, I also can advocate individually, and that actually might get me in somewhere quicker to get some resolution, but feel free, if you're hearing of neighbors, to send them my contact information.
Great, thank you for that.
Yep, and I thought I saw, Kathleen, did you have a hand up?
Yes. Am I unmuted?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. That thing is not cooperating with me. You said you had never heard of a letter like that. I actually have. My ex-husband of many, many years received 3 or 4 for various issues with his property. After he refused to clean it up, refused to do this, refused to do that, da 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 da. But in his case, it was highly justified, and they came only after they had tried multiple other avenues. So I'm wondering if somebody typed in the wrong friggin' number, street, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so those letters, that I'm familiar with, because that's usually when I'm called and needing to go and do some intervention and, you know, see if there's some service, like, you know what I mean? It's a bigger problem. It's a bigger conversation, right, than just that. So,
Right.
So yeah, at that level, I'm familiar with, but to have it at that level, like as you mentioned, the justification is definitely there. Versus especially someone who's got historically known through the neighborhood as being very compliant, even above and beyond compliance. So yeah, Gene, feel free to send him my way. I'm more than happy to run this right up the food chain.
Yeah, like to the top.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions about snow removal? So, you know, the battle's on, right? Linda? Oh, geez.
Yeah, just to let you know that this is several neighborhoods. I've seen reports about this. East Harriet, Central, Bancroft, Kingfield. So, and this is from the south side, but more neighbors are reporting getting these letters. And then in Kingfield, they set up a list of who is willing to help folks with snow removal and who could use some help, because we do have quite a few older residents in our neighborhood. And so I was glad to see our particular neighborhood stepping up and trying to address some of those needs. So
yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I did reach out at one point earlier in the season to ask my neighborhood team if they would ask their neighborhoods if there was any plans, so we can give resources out beyond the 1 or 2 community-based organizations that would do this. And I need to follow back, because at that time, none really had, other than I think Victory was doing it. So yeah, good to know. Thank you. Anything else before I move on to, I believe it's public safety? No? So I have sent out information about, and I'm sure you've seen it in the paper and stuff, that the governor has already put into place authorizations to utilize our National Guard if needed. I can confirm that there are meetings. I have a colleague who's participating in those for, you know, just to get information to share with us. And it's a pretty well-oiled machine. Of course, a lot of that information isn't public or going to be public for obvious reasons, but they have set up mechanisms where basically all of our law enforcement entities from St. Paul to Minneapolis, and which includes Park Police, Metro Transit Police, of course, our state patrols and the sheriff's office, both Ramsey County and Hennepin County. So there's a coordinated effort, and as well as the plans accommodate people's right to protest in their First Amendment. But then there's, I don't know if I want to call them benchmarks or touch points that would trigger a law enforcement action. Does that make sense? But I can confirm that, like,
Yes.
they are on it. And it's not to say that there wouldn't be an eruption of violence, but as far as it being unable to be controlled in a very quick fashion, there's a lot of confidence that what we saw this summer is not going to be at that. As far as the the inability to control it, I mean, there is that, like I said, there's that fine line of people's right to protest, and then there's the issue of violence, which will, of course, elicit a lot of police presence, and that's kind of where we're in the conversation of what that can feel and look like to community, is having that much police presence. But I will commit to you that when I have specific information, such as, National Guard is going to be stationed here, or other law enforcement is going to be in these neighborhoods, etc. The other conversation we're having is there, of course, for obvious reasons, a lot of focus in downtown, because of where the location of the trial is. We still want to make sure that these plans include the outskirts of downtown, especially our areas that still have not recovered from the last unrest due to the murder of George Floyd. So, Jean, you have your hand up?
Thanks. I'm right by the 3rd precinct. And so the messaging in my community, certainly among my neighbors, strongly among the elderly and elder neighbors, is, and thank you for saying that, what about us? Because of course we are hearing that there's going to be this full effort in downtown. So that's important that you said that. We are especially concerned about that building. So we wonder what the plan is, but further, how is that going to be protected? And that's not the word I'm looking for, but deflected. It still is a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of a trigger, right? Because it's kind of a trigger as to where this all began last May, right? After
Flashpoint.
Right. Thank you. It's a flashpoint. Thank you. And so we are wondering, what is the plan? Because I can see, especially individuals who are not from Minneapolis, going there first. So A, what is going to happen to that building? But B, how are we going to protect our neighborhood? And by that, I mean Longfellow Cooper, in this case, from repercussions to that flashpoint. Thanks.
Thanks, Jean. My colleagues and I are bringing this up throughout the community, and trying to get those answers. I wish I could say I had those answers right now, but I don't. However, my colleagues and myself are pushing, and we're pushing hard, that there needs to be communication out to all of our residents in Minneapolis on the plan, right? I will say that, and I don't know if folks know this, 3rd Precinct is no longer in the convention center where it was being housed due to the damage to the building. The 3rd Precinct is literally attached to the federal courthouse in a facility, the Public Service Center. So it's right downtown as well, which could explain even more of an elevated concern about downtown. But to your point, Jean, that still doesn't remove the symbolism of that building there. 5th Precinct is not far from there. So it is thinking about, and then how much further into their community. I live right off of 36th and Nicollet, a few blocks off the lake. And right behind my house is where the O'Reilly and Family Dollar burnt to the ground. You know, I spent my night evacuating folks from an apartment complex. So it's real and it's valid. 38th in Chicago is also right, you know, in the area and thinking about that community. So we are pushing for answers. I just wish I had more to give you today. Other than I'm happy to hear that the planning and the level of planning and the considerations that are going into the planning are there now versus being reactionary, right? Whereas that's what happened in the summer, is that we had to react and respond versus having a solid plan in place. So as soon as I find out, I'll be more than happy to share with the committee what I know. Kathleen, you have your hand up?
Yes, and I don't know if I can make it go away now. One of the
I can do that for you.
Well, the little, you know, selection bar doesn't always show up.
Okay.
One of the things that happened here northeast, I mean, in general, we were pretty quiet most of the summer. But then all of a sudden, we had 100+ National Guard and vehicles and all the rest of it down at the Quarry Shopping Center, which scared the bejesus out of a lot of people. And it turned out that because of the access that the shopping center has to southbound 35W, it was a staging area. They weren't there for any problems. They were there so they could get to problems faster. And that would be good to know too, because yeah, but my neighbors were all going, okay, do we need to lock up in their houses? What's going on? They're all over the parking lot. I'm going, you know, go ask them. Maybe they'll tell you. And I actually did go ask, and they did tell me. But my younger son is a former Marine. So as far as approaching folks like that, I don't worry about it a whole lot. And I've said the only way I'm going to get an answer is go ask them. And they are the ones that said, no, we're a staging area. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's valid. Again, that's actually valid throughout community. Police presence is jarring, and police presence is a trigger for trauma. And it's just really important that our communities get information. And so all I can commit is that my colleagues and myself are pushing that concern forward so we can get information out to community, and so that they feel like they have the ability to react and respond how they see appropriate. You know, I think if our business owners are asking, are we boarding up? And nobody has an answer, right? So it's really, really important. Angelique?
I just wondered, I know that North Minneapolis was not the focal point for our last unrest, but there was unrest in North Minneapolis as well.
Yep, there sure was.
Is there any plan in place to have guards activated on this side of town as well? I guess I'm not sure.
Right. So I don't know of what the plans even outside of downtown. I don't even know that there's any plans for 38th in Chicago, for Lake Street and the 3rd Precinct and the 5th Precinct. Broadway was just devastated and decimated, as well as the immediate areas, you know. So, you know, I saw firsthand as I was trying to go out and help triage and get food and supplies and baby things and all kinds of stuff to community. And yeah, so that's what we need to know.
Or the 4th Precinct with,
right.
the 4th with Jamar Clark.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. absolutely the fourth precinct, and community feeling that after the civil unrest, that police weren't even responding after that, right? Crime's out of control. I mean, there's just so many considerations right now that to not communicate with our residents, we understand the importance of being able to do that. So I do know it's being worked on. I know the city is thinking about how to do that, as well as being respectful of the fact that that our communities have trauma, right? And you know how that messaging needs to look and respect all of our communities and how they're going to receive this information, etc. So so I can confirm too that there is definitely some thoughtfulness about it as the information is being prepared to be disseminated. Ernie and then Jean.
Tom, you're on point. If I'm elected as chair, you're elected as secretary. You taking notes?
I have been taking notes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tom.
Christina. Thanks,
Jean?
Tom.
Okay, is it me?
Yep.
Oh, okay, sorry. So can you clarify for me the statement, it's unknown as to beyond downtown? And are you saying that you yourself just don't know what the plan is, or there isn't anything beyond downtown?
I myself have not been informed of any plans. I cannot confirm that there's no plan. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to find out is what is the plan.
Okay. And then my second point, if I could, and that is, well, first of all, I'm just speaking on behalf of Longfellow.
Okay.
I dispute that this was a larger event. But I think that really does make a point to this, and that this is not just in a neighborhood in Minneapolis. This is our entire city is traumatized right now. And so anything out of the ordinary, no police present, is terrifying to me. Helicopters is terrifying, and it's not just me. It's all my young neighbors are out there saying, what's going on now? And I think that is consistent with the entire city. And I think it would be a disservice to make this, even if they're holding back information, which I understand they can't share all their plans, but I think it's kind of a disservice to only advertise or put out there that we're watching out for downtown. It leaves the rest of us wondering about what about the rest of us.
Right. So there really has been no advertisement, if you will, that, you know, they're going to focus on downtown. I'm just sharing that is the plan, although this is a public meeting and with a public recording. So now I've just let folks know that as of now, I'm what I know is that there's a lot of planning going underway, that there are a lot of multi-jurisdictions involved. Naturally, the conversation has been focused on downtown for very obvious reasons. You know, everything from City Hall to the 3rd Precinct to the federal courthouse to Hennepin County Courthouse, like all of it's downtown, right in that our brand new public service center, all of it's right there. But that does not mean that that there's not other plans. I'm just not aware of them. I'm not informed yet.
Yeah. And
so,
I'm not suggesting that it was your disservice. I'm just saying on a global,
right.
You know, citywide standpoint. Yeah,
yep.
That's against you.
Yep, that's valid. And this is all information that I'll be bringing back to the folks who are in the planning arenas.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep. Beth, I see your hands up.
I just think it's important for us as a committee, for whatever power we have, if we can make recommendations, that we make a recommendation to the city to be as communicative and transparent as possible. I mean, I get they're not going to give every detail about, where officers are going to be deployed, but perhaps emphasize that. And saying, for some people, they hear police are coming to their neighborhood and they think, oh, good, we're protected. And other people, there's a great issue of other people hearing police are coming to our neighborhood and they need to run for their lives. I mean, this isn't an equitable, announcement. And so I think being mindful of how that's being communicated is important. I think saying public safety officers, like word choice goes far. And I think being as communicative and transparent in advance and not waiting until the day before the trial can help communities feel, I don't know, maybe somewhat empowered, somewhat cared for. And I think if a message could be conveyed with particular consideration and respect to our neighbors of color. I mean, there's been great trauma, and I think, I hope the message to the officers has been one of care, compassion, and respect for all people.
Thank you. I will definitely be bringing that message forward too. Anyone else before we move on to vaccinations? I sound like a game show host all of a sudden. I don't know where that came from. Sorry. Okay, vaccinations. So the city themselves, our health department, the Minneapolis Health Department, we do not disseminate vaccines, meaning that we are not giving the shots, if you will. We're helping the state coordinate their efforts. And so, again, I sent information out, and for those of you who didn't get a chance to see it, but you may have heard about it because it was very publicly announced on our news channels, et cetera, that the governor is doing all he can to increase vaccination distribution. They are now getting vaccinations to more places that people typically access, such as Walmart, Walgreens. And there was another pharmaceutical that I feel like is kind of very rural, known in the rural area, like True Right or something like that. So as we're getting them out. What I can tell you is that right now, my colleagues and I are working with our health department, and actually it's the area for vaccination dissemination that's handling it is emergency preparedness within our health department. What I'm going to try and do is get a list of proposed vaccination sites. So when we do get vaccine, we already got in place that, this spot's going to have a vaccination clinic, this spot's going to have a vaccination drive, et cetera, et cetera. And what I'd like to do, if I do get that list, is to share it all with you so you can identify if you think there's an organization that would serve this purpose well, where's a gap, what's missing, who's missing, et cetera. Because of course, there's many opportunities that community can access the vaccination without it being, a big challenge, a barrier, et cetera, the better, right? So even for, I'm starting to hear that some sites, people make appointments and then don't show. And unfortunately, those vaccination, those shots go to waste. So thinking about how we can even triage that, X site has, 30 shots left over. If you want to get a vaccination, go, right? So, so that's where we're at with vaccinations. Again, as soon as I get information, I will send it all out to folks so they know. The focus is still our elders, our older adults, so it's 65 on up. When we start shifting, well, and of course our frontline workers, our teachers, they're very much actively trying to get all of our teachers vaccinated so that schools can open with a sense of safety. Beth and Melinda and Ernie. I think, Melinda, you had your hand up first. Beth was second. Ernie was last.
Flo here.
Oh,
would
go ahead,
like
Flo.
to address this too.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh.
the
You're on, Flo.
important thing is not vaccinations. It's the COVID saliva testing. Because if you don't know, if you've been exposed, the type of vaccination that you should get would change. And so they've got free saliva testing on this coming Saturday, the 13th, as well as the 20th, from 11 in the morning until 3 at the Minneapolis Public Schools Davis Center at 1250 West Broadway in Minneapolis, 55411. There probably are other sites in other areas, and you can get the information through 311. But it's important that people get the saliva test to know if they've had an asymptomatic or limited symptomatology and they didn't realize that it was COVID. And if they've had one exposure to one of the variants, or if it's a second round and they're reinfected, because we now know that you can be infected again. So it's really important, especially for seniors, to get the free saliva testing.
All right, thanks.
As
Thanks,
well
Flo.
as realize that a lot of the top group, the seniors, have yet to be vaccinated.
Yep.
Like
Yep,
I'm
sure.
in my 80s and I haven't been able to. And I'm especially vulnerable with multiple pre-existing conditions and other issues. So it's important that the primary eligible groups get back on the top priority list.
Yep.
For both the saliva testing and the vaccinations.
Okay, thanks, Flo. Yeah, thanks for that. We are at the city still pushing out a campaign for testing, and we have testing sites all over the city that are continuing to operate. So I think, like I said, it was Melinda, then Beth, then Ernie.
I'll give you my report on the vaccine Hunger Games these days. I registered with that state site on the last day, that one day that they opened it up. Some of my friends went in right away and they had to wait a long time to get. I went in at 3 p.m. I got right in, and then I won the lottery. I'm one of the few people. So I was one of the 9,000 that got vaccine last weekend at the convention center. They did 3,000 the first day. And my experience was you waited in line an hour, which was difficult on your feet in that building. We round up around inside. And I was a little leery about being around that many people since I've been so isolated for a year.
Right.
That was a little disconcerting. And another friend went the second day and she was told, "You're lucky you didn't come the first day. That was terrible. And now there's not as long a wait." But I think it was their software and their equipment and all of that. I think it was technology because it took forever to check in and you checked in 4 times.
Wow.
I know that Alina and Health Partners are doing people 75 and over, and they're notifying their patients to get vaccine, somebody sent out a link to people I know to sign up with Health Partners, but it was a link for healthcare workers. But my friends who went, who were 75, they gave them a shot. But my friend who was 70 said she would just go and show up and they wouldn't give her a vaccine. And they made my husband back out of his appointment because he wasn't eligible. So it was interesting to see what they were doing. I know that Alina was using Courage Center, and folks who have gone there for vaccine said it was pretty slick. It was a short wait, and they felt they did a good job with it. And then I know other folks went to the People Center because it was listed in that state list of places giving out vaccine. They're not patients there. I mean, that clinic is for a certain community, and yet some white folks who don't live in that neighborhood got appointments, and I just felt that didn't feel right. It wasn't meeting the needs of a community that needs these vaccines. So anyway, that's what I've heard about the vaccine Hunger Games these days.
Thank you for sharing that. Beth.
Yeah, so I have been immersed. I mean, this getting vaccines for seniors is a full-time job. I mean, it really can be. And I've been trying, I've got my parents and I've got my in-laws and I've been trying to help my aunts and uncle. And it is, I mean, for people that don't have tech access or are not adept on technology, it is brutal. You're on hold. You know, my dad was savvy enough to have his cell phone, my mom's cell phone, and their landline all on hold at the same time, trying to get through. And he got them appointments at Alina, and they did get appointments at Alina just because they were lucky enough that, because Alina is doing a lot. They're saying that they're open to vaccinating all their patients 75 and over, but they're doing a lottery also. Like their computer is just selecting which patients, and they're doing it randomly. They're not doing it by age. It might be nice if they went, you know, down in order of age of the most risk and down, but they're just, you know, they are doing it. But, you know, so my parents got the call and they ended up in a Burnsville office that they'd never been to before, but they walked in, got the shot. I mean, it was like, and no waiting, no standing, which was nice for them. They were lucky. The People Center, they were on the list from the state of Minnesota. If you put in your zip code, including zip codes in the city, zip codes in the suburb, they would come up. I called them. I was on hold for an hour. I got through. They said they were happy to take my in-laws. My in-laws are not part of that community, but they said, you know, I specifically asked about that. They said that they were taking anybody if they were over 75, because the more people who are vaccinated, the more protected we all are. So I thought that was interesting. Since that time, we've canceled that appointment because I got my in-laws an appointment through Walgreens. And, you know, it's tricky, and you have to keep refreshing your computer. And if you don't know how to do these things or changing the dates, I mean, it is really tricky, and you have to type in a million different zip codes in a million different cities. And so I guess if we could, on the City of Minneapolis website somewhere, have a COVID site with like if there was one intern who, you know, was supervised, if there's not a staff person who could sit and update sources. I don't know if, you know, did the city announce, like Walgreens started yesterday taking appointments. So I don't know if that kind of that would be helpful. I mean, as much information as we can get to seniors would be helpful. The city could even put up Cyber Seniors toll-free phone number for technology help. You know, the teen tech mentors can't make appointments for the people, but they can help walk through seniors how to use the technology that they do have if they don't know, you know, where to click, for example, or so anyway, it's a mess. And I think anything that, you know, the city can do, I know they can't make appointments. I know they're not in charge of health, but just even giving information about where seniors can go might be helpful.
Thank you for that. And I'm going to talk with our health folks about Cyber Seniors too. Can I ask a question, Beth, about language?
Yeah.
Do you have opportunity to address language?
Cyber Seniors has teen tech mentors who speak French, Spanish, and English. And then periodically we have tech mentors that speak a variety of other languages, but at any given time, our biggest populations speak English, Spanish, and French, but there are sometimes teen tech mentors who speak Russian or speak other languages as well. So if a senior calls and requests a certain language, we can see if we have someone that can help. We can't guarantee it, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for all of that. I couldn't send you a chat thank you, but thank you for all of that.
Yeah, agreed. I know that the bar on the chat, it's just cracks me up.
I will say this too. If anyone's on Facebook, and if you go to Minneapolis Vaccine Hunters, it's a group that a woman started, and she has friends that work in healthcare who are nurses. That was how I found out about that Walgreens was open yesterday. Like I joined that group, and there's also one called Twin Cities Vaccine Hunters. I mean, I want to know so when it's people below 65, I'm going to be able to get appointments, you know, for my husband and myself and our kids. But anyway,
Facebook. Those are both.
That was on Facebook. Yep.
Yeah, thank you for that. Ernie.
Yes, Beth, thank you again. That was Minneapolis Vaccine Hunters, and who else?
On Facebook. There's also one called Twin Cities Vaccine Hunters. I found the Minneapolis Vaccine Hunters a little more helpful, but you never know.
Thank you. My add to this conversation is I'm a Health Partners. I go to Park Nicollet in St. Louis Park, and I don't understand how state guidelines are at 65 and older, and Health Partners says, well, we're only doing 75 and older. And she stood beside Governor Walz and said he had the CEO of Health Partners standing beside him during a news conference talking about how they would work with the state and follow the state guidelines. And then I can read you the words off of the Health Partners website today. They're doing 75 and older. So
I can answer that.
Is there a complaint line where people are they are not in compliance, or I just have to write my Minnesota representatives?
You can do either. There's actually a state COVID email. And the reason why some are still focusing on the 75 and over has to do with the amount of vaccinations that they have. So they're
targeting. Thank you, Christina. I've heard all of them.
Okay.
I just don't. When they say they're going to do the same as the state, why don't they do that?
Sure.
Why do they say that in public on a conference in a news? What was it? A news something. And then turn around and go, well, we're just doing 75 or we're doing 80 and over. So, okay, right. Thanks, Christina.
Yeah,
there's a state COVID email. Got it.
Christina? Hey, Christina, will you finish what you were going to say there for a second?
Sure. So this is a perfect example of like what Tom had brought up about minutes and how the way something's messaged or when people communicate, you know, you'll take it as you want. So those who are receiving vaccinations can delineate how they're going to disseminate them and to whom based on who the state says is currently eligible and what phase the state is in. And so that's why you'll hear frontline workers and teachers, this is regardless of age, right? Healthcare workers, emergency responders. For the general populace, it initially started off at 75 and older based on the number of vaccinations that were available to be distributed without the entire state of Minnesota. And then they wanted to lower it for those who had the capacity, as well as expanding who can, or who's got the capacity to receive vaccinations, such as now your Walgreens, your the other two, Walmart and the other pharmacy. These are all agreements that are made at the state of Minnesota. So I'm pharmacy, and this is what this is who I'm going to distribute vaccinations to. And hi, I'm Alina, and this is who I'm going to distribute vaccinations to based on the lists of folks who are eligible. That's why Alina necessarily isn't doing teachers, right? And maybe they are. So that's how that's all going to work, and probably will continue to be distributed that way. You know, as we start phasing in general populations, it really has to do with capacity. The vaccination has to be stored a certain way, depending which vaccination they're receiving. Some people have the capacity to store the more touchy one, which I think is Moderna, which is a sub-zero storage, as well as there's a different time frame of when you get the second vaccination, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, there's a lot of different parameters versus just, oh, now everybody who's 65 and over can go anywhere that there's a vaccination and get it. Like, there's going to be vaccination clinics that are specific for our communities of color. They're in our cultural communities. There's going to be vaccination sites that are specific for teachers. Like the convention center was only doing teachers, and I don't remember who else. So that's the idea is really about equity. And trying to, as we just heard stories, that right now it's just kind of like a mad rush, and you know, issues of equity aren't necessarily being addressed, if you will, even within our cultural communities, our communities of culture and color, even equity within our communities. Those who have the most resources are the ones getting the vaccinations, right? Those who have access to technology, have easier access to transportation, have insurance themselves because they're in a financial situation that allows them to do that, right? So we're really trying to think thoroughly throughout the city of Minneapolis as our role in our health department, our emergency response. How do we really do focus on those who, like to Flo's point, who don't have that easy access to the vaccination? So what does that look like, right? So yeah, I'll quit rambling on and on. I see that Janet Court had her hand up next. Then I don't know if it was Hazel or Melinda, and then Ernie.
Okay, I just wanted to report on a couple of groups that are getting their vaccinations more more efficiently. I have a friend who is in assisted living and public housing, and he has had both of his shots as of yesterday. And they were not a part of the state system. They have their own medical system that has its own pharmacy, and they ordered theirs through that. I have my first shot, and I'm getting my second shot next week through the Native American Community Clinic, which, along with the Indian Health Service, have gotten theirs through the Department of the Interior, and that's been separate. So, so those are working very, very well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, different groups get the vaccinations through different channels, et cetera. So, and assisted living was before it was released to, obviously for obvious reasons, before it was released to the general population who was 74 and older, and now 65 and older. So, Hazel?
I hate to
So
interrupt,
do
but
you
we're
kinda-
at 2:28. Do we close at 2:30?
We
Is there a
can.
motion to extend it for a little bit, or how are people sitting?
We don't. We don't need to do a motion.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Go ahead, Hazel.
Well, you kind of addressed it. I was just adjusting the equity for the vaccine because it's been shown that people of color are way down the list on getting the vaccine. So
Yep.
I do know, like, Fellowship is going to be giving some vaccines, I think this weekend. But on the state level, are they, during the distribution, are they trying to include people of color to make sure that those communities are getting the vaccination? Because I mean, they showed it like it's only like 10%, 11% people of
Right.
color You know, it is real down low, and Native American be even lower. I mean, so when they're doing this distribution to these different areas.
I don't have that information as to what the state's doing, but I do know that this. I'm sorry, Hazel, you were cutting out a little bit. I don't have the information as to what the state's doing, but as far as how Minneapolis is approaching it, we are, the health department is definitely talking about that, putting that equity lens in and really focusing on vaccinating those who are going to be hardest to vaccinate. Everything from just them being able to have easy access, but also respecting the fact of education. A lot of people are concerned about the vaccine. They're concerned about reactions to it. There's trauma attached to vaccination programs historically. So all of that is being considered as Minneapolis is creating their plan on how to assist the distribution of the vaccinations that come to Minneapolis, for sure. So whether the state's applying that lens, I don't know, but I can tell you that the city of Minneapolis, it's in every conversation that I've been in recently. So, Melinda,
And the side,
go ahead.
I just want just as a sidebar, can the city or whoever do some PSAs on how to wear the mask? I am sick of people wearing the mask below their nose, underneath their chin. I mean, just hanging loose.
Right.
So I think I emailed one of the news reporters do PSAs on proper wearing of the mask.
Yeah, we are. Yep, we are actually. We just had that conversation not too long ago on, while right now a big focus, of course, is messaging, but to Flo's point, we still need to get the message out to get tested, and people are ignoring, congregating in large groups. They're ignoring proper mask wearing, hand sanitizing. They're like just, everybody's, COVID out, right? They're and that's why we'll see surges. We've got the Super Bowl party that just happened, or parties that, I mean? So we just talked about what is, and I don't feel that the old messaging is appropriate now. I feel like it needs to be structured of, come on, man. Just because someone, issued a vaccination doesn't mean that COVID is gone, because it's like not, right? And it's actually getting worse. We've got multiple strains that we don't even know if the vaccinations are going to really effectively address it. So mask it or casket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the new, the CDC just put out the new report today, and there's a new, it's like a dark green chart showing the most effective way to wear your masks. I can forward it in the group email in case you haven't seen it, about the importance, how double masking is now reducing exposures by 96.5%. That is a huge number.
That is a huge number. Go ahead, Melinda, and then Ernie.
Okay, just a last update.
Oh.
My friend who lives at Beckettwood, they did their own clinic about 2 weeks ago. So some senior facilities are doing that. And my daughter's a teacher for St. Paul's schools, and Ramsey County is now going to be looking at providing vaccine for educators in the school districts in Ramsey County. So just so an update on that.
That's cool. And here's a perfect example. We in Hennepin County have already been vaccinating our teachers, and here Ramsey is just starting. So it's really, what did you call it? Vaccination Hunger Games. It's hilarious, which is sad and hilarious at the same time, because it's just so valid. It's still just kind of a crapshoot, and a confusion and a concern and a barrier and a challenge and all of that, right, to get vaccinations. And hopefully there's being lessons learned, and it'll just, get better as it rolls out. That's just what I'm rooting for. I see Kathleen Quinn. You're on mute, hun.
You stupid computer.
All right, you got it. Oh, no, you're still on mute. Let's see if I can unmute you. Nope, I can't.
You're unmuted.
Okay, good. You did not hear what I said to it.
No.
My comment is, though I am in theory eligible, I mean, I'm 72, I have a couple of health issues. I also am, I wouldn't say totally content self-isolating, staying at home, you know. I mean, the grocery store is a big, hairy deal every couple of weeks, but it does lower my stress level. I'm looking at it and I'm going, you know, when my clinic tells me they have the shots, I will go in there. When my NP says we can get you a shot or the series of shots, fine. In the meantime, I have, my son bought me one of those really heavy duty, impressive, scary looking respirator type masks. I don't know where he got it. I didn't ask. And anytime I'm going to be around a lot of people, I will wear it. The rest of the time, it's the standard fairly heavy cloth mask, and now I'm going to have to do two. But the isolation and the staying away from people and the protecting yourself, yes, it's tough, but that's what I'm going with for now. And I'm lucky because it's possible for me to do. And I know, and I'm waiting till the nurses, the teachers, the EMTs, the firefighters, all of those, I'm waiting till they all get their shots. When they've got their shots, fine, I'll line up for mine.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have talked about that they feel that they're not at the risk, and they prefer those who really feel more at risk to have them. Jean, and then maybe we will wrap up.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask if I could move to adjourn, and if we want to continue, folks who want to continue this conversation can, but maybe we could adjourn. Mr. Chair, I move to adjourn.
I second the motion.
I hear a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank
Okay.
you all.
Yeah, I have to boogaloo.
Anyone who would like to adjourn at the moment? Christina, do you have any final word?
I do not. Thank you everyone for coming, and I've got some tasks to do, and hopefully I will be getting some information on some of the things we talked about that are more detailed.
Oh, Tom, we're all jealous now. That's not fair. That's not fair, young man. All right. Thank you once and all. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Beth,
Bye.
I'm gonna write you.
Excellent. I look forward to that.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Miss Hazel. Bye, Tom, Ernie.
Bye, Anjali.
Bye.
Beth. Bye, Hazel. Bye, Tom.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Thanks
Take
for all
care.
you do. Goodbye. Have a great day.
And beat our law enforcement officers.